What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 16 of Film Time with Fava, brought to you by Fired Up Network. I hope you at home are all ready to get into this episode because I know I am. Now, first off, just a disclaimer, my voice is pretty messed up right now. Don't worry, I'm all good. But yeah, if you hear any voice cracks in this video, don't be alarmed. I'm not going through puberty. I swear. Anyways, so this week, you see the poster right there for Rocky. I'm going to be ranking all the Rocky and Creed movies. So all the movies that have come out in the Rocky franchise, I'm going to be ranking all 8 of them from 8 to 1. Who will be number 1? You got to watch to find out, or listen, because you can watch this on YouTube, Twitter. Yeah. Or you can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, all the major platforms. You can watch Film Time with Fava and other shows from Fired Up Network. If you want to know more about this show in particular, or just about me and want to follow the show, you can follow it on Instagram at Film Time with Fava. There I post a lot of fun clips and content, updates on the show when new episodes come out. You'll know right away if you follow that and turn those notifications on. And if you want to follow my personal account, see what I'm up to in my life, at Favalicious on Instagram, and also on Twitter, _Fav24. I post some clips there as well and updates on the show. So now that we have that out of the way, let's get right into this ranking. So at number 8, my least favorite Rocky movie, Rocky 5. Now, this movie is the only movie in the Rocky franchise that I genuinely think is really bad. Now, it starts off with a cool premise, actually, because in this, we see Rocky having basically brain damage from all these hits he's taken to the head. Like, we see him in all these, like, because in the first Rocky, he starts out as already like an older boxer, so he's obviously been through the ringer a bit. But then in these fights in all the movies, we always see him just getting beaten, bloody, all that. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that at this point in the final movie of the original Rocky saga, that he has some brain damage and he has to retire from the sport of boxing. And with that, he then begins to train an up and coming fighter whose name is super cheesy. It's Tommy Gunn. Yeah, it's not good. He was actually played by a real, I believe, heavyweight champion boxer. So yeah, the boxing in this movie, like with any Rocky movie, is pretty top notch. So you got a real boxer playing one of the main characters, so it's going to be good. But yeah, the boxing in this movie is just about where the positives end. It's really weird. They brought in Sylvester Stallone's son for this movie. He's not a good actor. Rest in peace, though. He did die young, so rest in peace to the actor who played him. But yeah, his performance in the movie was not good. Stallone, this is probably his worst performance as Rocky. It's still all over the top. Yeah, it's just a really boring Rocky movie. There's a lot of weird scenes, like Sylvester Stallone and his son talking about a hot teacher that he has at school. It's just really awkward to watch. And then the final fight is just super disappointing. He fights his apprentice, Tommy Gunn, in the streets. It's not even in a ring. It's a street fight to end the movie. And it's all right. Like, it's not the worst thing ever, but to end the franchise for the time being, like at this time, that was the last Rocky movie that came out for a while. To end it like that was pretty disappointing, especially when I was originally going through all the Rocky movies and seeing the original series end like that. Yeah, it left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, and that's why it comes in at number 8 in last place. But number 7 is not perfect by any means, but it's much better than Rocky 5, and that is Rocky 4. Probably one of the most popular Rocky movies, if not one of the most popular sports movies, just because, you know, it's America versus Russia. You got Sylvester Stallone as Rocky once again, and you got Dolph Lundgren as Ivan Drago, one of the greatest sports movie, whatever movie villains of all time. This guy is a roided up Russian who's fighting for basically the communist hammer and sickle style stuff at the time. But yeah, no, it starts off with a big blow to blow to Rocky fans with the death of Apollo Creed. Spoiler alert. Kind of late for the spoiler alert because I already said he died, but you know what? Who cares? Yeah, so it starts off with the death of Apollo Creed, immediately just setting the tone for what an insane boxer Ivan Drago is, and just like how dangerous he's going to be when Rocky eventually fights him. But the ending fight in this movie is one of the best in the series. Like we see Rocky being beaten to a pulp and just come back and win it for America in Russia. Also, the training scene in this is something I really like as well because it's Rocky out in like the snow covered. I don't even know what you'd call it. I don't want to say prairies because there's snow, but it's like this big flat snow covered area in Russia. He's like in this shed, not shed, like a shack with like a fire as his heat source. He's like doing hanging sit-ups on this beam on the ceiling. He's like running through the field with this giant log on his back. Like it's a real bare bones training, but it's like pretty cool to watch. It's very primal in a sense. Some negatives about this movie. For some reason, they put a robot in at the beginning, like basically Rocky for his friend Paulie's birthday, or his wife Adrian's brother Paulie. He gets him this robot butler, which is really weird. And that's the main gripe that a lot of people have with Rocky 4 is this robot butler. That's like a super small part of the movie, but it just doesn't make sense why it's there. It's kind of weird. Actually, they re-released Rocky 4, and Stallone said one of the first things he did was remove Paulie's robot butler. So Stallone did us all a service there. It's just too bad that I have to rank it with the robot butler in mind, because honestly, without the robot butler, it might have been a spot ahead. But I digress. Now let's get back to the list. At number 6, we have the film that came out before Rocky 4, which is, of course, Rocky 3. Now, for a while, I really liked Rocky 3, but the more I've gone back and watched it, I realize it doesn't really stack up with the top 5 quite as much. But no, Rocky 3 is cool because it comes off of Rocky 2, where Rocky finally becomes the heavyweight champion. We see some filler of him defending his title against who we think are strong opponents, but we later learned that they were more so just easier opponents that he could easily defend his title against. That's what Mickey, Rocky's trainer, admits. And this has another great villain in this. We have Mr. T as Clubber Lang. If you've heard the phrase "pity the fool," that's what that Mr. T said that in Rocky 3. Rocky 3 is cool. We see Rocky as the heavyweight champion, and then we see it taken away, or like super quick. We see the death of Rocky's original trainer, Mickey. And that was a big moment in the series because that kind of shifted the training from with Mickey to Apollo Creed, which then of course sets up Apollo Creed's death in Rocky 4. And the magnitude of that death is kind of heightened because he does train Rocky in this movie. And it's a really cool shift to see Rocky learning from Apollo Creed, former rival, former enemy even. But we see like the difference between Mick's training method and Apollo Creed's, and it's a lot different. Like Apollo takes Rocky out to LA to like the ghetto there, and they go to this really sketchy gym, but he knows like he's got to start at the bottom to get his way back to the top. And we see one of the greatest training montages in this movie. It's one of the best in the series. I know I said the last one in Rocky 4 was really good, but I think the Rocky 3 one tops it a bit because we see Apollo Creed and Rocky training together. And we see how at first Apollo Creed's clearly superior. Like he's running laps around Rocky. Rocky can't even get the footwork down because Apollo's trying to teach him like how to do it with the rhythm and all that. But then by the end, Rocky's the one winning the races. He's the one getting the footwork right, winning in their sparring. Yes, that's a really cool training montage. We see the rematch of Clubber Lang and Rocky at the end, and it's a really good fight. And it's cool because we get to see Rocky kind of strategize a lot for the first time in the series. He had done it in previous films, but that was more his trainer telling him what to do. But in this one, Rocky really thinks for himself because he sees that his opponent's getting really tired. So he basically lets Clubber Lang or Mr. T hit him so much that like Mr. T's just like gassed by the last round. Then Rocky can easily just knock him out. I mean, not easily because it's still a crazy fight. But yeah, no, it's cool to see someone like Rocky, who's generally known as not being intelligent whatsoever. Like he only learns to read in the second Rocky movie. So that'll tell you about his intelligence right there. But yeah, it's cool to see him strategizing like that. And in the end, becoming the heavyweight champion once again, the people's champ, Rocky Balboa. So after that, at number 5, we have, as I just said, Rocky Balboa. Now, Rocky Balboa came out years after Rocky 5 had come out. I believe it was in the earlier 2000s that Rocky Balboa came out. And it basically follows an older Rocky, once again, played by Sylvester Stallone. But he's in a bit of a dark place. Adrian, his wife, has died of cancer. Paulie is in this one, but he's a lot older. He's still a drunk. He's still working at the meat packing place. But yeah, no, this movie is interesting because it's kind of a callback to the first Rocky in a way, as he's not down and out. Like he lives in a house, like he owns his own restaurant named after Adrian, all this. But in a sense, he's like at his lowest point once again, but for like different reasons, just because he's so alone. But then all that changes when a simulation is shown on TV of the heavyweight champion, the current heavyweight champion at the time, versus Rocky in his prime, and it's shown that Rocky would win. And basically, the champion calls Rocky out, says like, "Yo, fight me," and yeah, they do. This has some great character callbacks. There was one character in this movie that I did not see coming at all. It's in the original Rocky, this girl basically disses Rocky and like tells him to F off. And she comes back and like gets a job at Rocky's restaurant and like helps him train. I thought there was a little love connection there, but Rocky quickly shuts that down. He's like, "Hey, I'm a one lady guy." Or I guess he says it more like this. "Hey, I'm a one lady guy, Adrian." Yeah, so it's more like that. But yeah, no, and then we get a good final fight in this movie. It kind of shows like, hey, age is just an okay, that could be taken horribly in the wrong context, so I'm not going to say that. It just shows that no matter how old you are, you can still kick some butt, take some names. And Rocky almost does that. He does lose this fight, which is kind of once again a repeat of the first Rocky movie where he does lose. But this time it's like it's a victory in itself that he went the distance once again, which is what Rocky's kind of known for, is going the distance. Like he doesn't land like these huge shots, but he always like toughs it out. Like there's never been a short fight in a Rocky movie. I mean, besides the one where he loses to Clubber Lang in Rocky 3. But I mean, that's just not good cinematography if you're making the final fight like 2 rounds. So obviously they're going to go the distance basically every time. But once again, as I've said many times, I digress. Rocky Balboa, solid movie. It almost cracked the top 4. But at number 4, we have Rocky 2. Now, for a while, Rocky 2 was actually my favorite movie because this is the one where Rocky finally wins and becomes the heavyweight champion. He beats Apollo Creed in the final fight in this movie. Oh my God. Cheesiest ending ever. Both of them fall down at the same time and the ref's counting because he can't be saved by the bell in the final round. Like it shows both of them inching their way up on the ropes. But then finally Rocky's the first one up and Apollo can't get up. It's a whole thing. Rocky wins. He says, "Yo, Adrian, I did it." That's the big line that he says in Rocky 2. But yeah, it doesn't quite measure up to how much I used to like it. It copies a lot of the same beats from the original Rocky. Like he's still down and out in a sense. Like he did go the distance with Apollo Creed. He is more famous than before. Like he's getting commercial offers, and through that that's how we find out he can't read because they're trying to make him read off the cue cards, and he's like, They actually called him the dummy cards, and he's like, "Who are you calling dumb?" And they're like, "Dude." But no, he does learn how to read by the end of this movie. So Rocky is literate now. Yeah, Rocky being literate is now canon. But the training in this once again is pretty good. We see Rocky have to switch from being a southpaw to fighting right-handed, fighting naturally, to basically throw off Apollo Creed, but also because in their previous fight, Rocky got his eye busted up and he has like eye vision problems now. Like he sees like blurry vision in his right or left eye. So basically they're trying to protect the eye. So that's why they switched the stance. That was cool to see. A lot of strategizing by Mick. Yeah, no, it's it's just a solid Rocky movie. Like there's not much bad stuff to say besides the point I made earlier that kind of just rehashes a lot of the same plot details from the first one. But no, solid Rocky movie, and that's why I'm putting it at number 4. Now at number 3, I was really torn with the Creed movies because I'm just gonna say right now, Creed 2 and Creed 1 are at the 2 and 3 spots. I'm not gonna say which is at which, but like these are two movies that I really like. And I know this kind of gives away what the number 1 movie is gonna be, but I found it really hard to choose whether I like Creed 1 or Creed 2 better. Because I've always said that Creed 2, I feel like, had the better conclusion, the better concluding fight. But I feel like Creed 1 had the better first half and sort of lead up to the fight. But in the end, I hate to be a normie, but Creed 2 is going to come in at number 3. Don't get me wrong, Creed 2 is amazing. I think Creed 1 edges it out slightly. But let me talk about Creed 2. I watched this the other week and it holds up so well. Well, why wouldn't it hold up? It came out like in 2019, I think. But yeah, I love this movie because it brings back one of my favorite movie characters, Ivan Drago. But this time he's not alone. He's with his son, Victor Drago, this huge mammoth of a man, Russian, of course, who basically, wants to earn his family's honor back because Ivan Drago's been like he's been disgraced and shunned by the Russians. He's been living in Ukraine because he lost the Rocky fight. And it's sad to see him like that, but at the same time, you just see the sheer power of his son Victor. And then when he does go up against Adonis, who is Apollo Creed's illegitimate child, I guess I should say. Yeah, so this actually, I almost think Rocky 3 is the closest comparison to this, just because we do see a loss. Well, not even a loss though, because the way they change it in this is Adonis is getting beaten pretty badly. Like they're thinking of calling the fight, but then when he's down, Victor Drago basically uppercuts him and brutally injures him. Like he's in hospital for weeks. And that was a cool change that shows that Adonis Creed is a human, because at the beginning of the film we see him win the heavyweight championship. Everything's going right for him. He proposes to his girlfriend. Everything's looking great. Then we see this guy go from like not even being able to pee by himself to like coming back and at the end spanking Victor Drago. Not literally, he just doesn't actually spank him in the ring, but like you get what I mean. He beats up Victor Drago pretty nicely. Nice to see, and we get to see a huge callback. Dolph Lundgren, aka Ivan Drago, throws in the towel for his son, which is what Rocky failed to do when Apollo Creed died, because he had the towel in his hand, but then let the punches rain down, which led to Apollo Creed's death. So that was a cool callback. I think this one has the better fights. I'm going to talk about some of the fights in Creed 1 when I get to that next. But no, Creed 2, both the Creed movies are amazing, and Creed 2 was nothing short of amazing. Awesome movie. I've seen it so many times. I've seen both of these movies. I've seen all of these movies so many times, with the exception of Rocky 5, because I hate that movie. But for the third time in this video, I digress. All right. So, as I said, at number 2 now, I already spoiled it. We got Creed 1. Now, Creed, when I heard about it, I was at a Raptors game, and it wasn't even a trailer for it. It was just like an advertisement, just like popped up, and it was like, Creed, the Rocky saga continues. And I'm sitting there like, wait, what? Like one of my favorite movie franchises of all time is getting like a sequel franchise. I was a little worried because it said Creed. So I thought maybe it would be about, like just seeing the name, I thought it would be about Apollo Creed, maybe his rise to being the heavyweight champion of the world. And I thought that'd be cool. And I think that's something that maybe they should go back and do. Maybe like a prequel to Creed where we see Adonis, like how Apollo Creed and his mother met, see how Apollo Creed became the heavyweight champion. Like I think that'd be a really cool avenue for the Rocky franchise to go down, I mean. And I think especially with Sylvester Stallone has seemingly retired the Rocky character from his acting repertoire. He did an Instagram post where he was like kind of walking away from a fire, and he's like, it's been an honor playing this character. I'm so glad it resonated with everyone. So yeah, it seems like he's not going to be in the series going forward. And at the end of the last one, he kind of walked off, like kind of like tipping the hat, being like, this is my swan song sort of thing. but yeah, back to Creed. Yeah, so I heard about the Raptors game. And I was really intrigued, and I eventually watched it, and it was incredible. Michael B. Jordan, Adonis Creed, same as in Creed 2. This one's directed by Ryan Coogler, who also directed Black Panther, one of my top Marvel movies. I'd say definitely top 15 for sure. But no, he does a terrific job. He honors the source material so well, and by source material, I mean like the original Rocky movies. Creed is not based on a book like the original Rocky was, because not many people know this, but Rocky was originally a book by Sylvester Stallone, which he then adapted into a movie. But no, Creed is excellent. We see the illegitimate child of Apollo Creed. Once again, this follows a lot of the same beats as Rocky, because we see a guy that is kind of down and out, but in a different sense. Because, sorry, thought there was a fly on me. Because he lives in a nice house, because he gets adopted by Apollo Creed's widow, basically. So he lives this sort of cushy life, but in his heart he knows that he was meant to be a boxer and he wants to be a boxer. So he's doing all these underground fights. Really cool seeing those at the because the opening scene is him in like, well, not the opening scene. The opening scene is him as a child in like a juvenile detention center. But later scenes in the movie, we see him doing these like underground street fights in Mexico. It's really cool to see that kind of gritty part of the boxing world that we never got to see in the original Rocky movies, besides in his street fight in Rocky 5, which was not good. But back to Creed, it's cool seeing Adonis Creed teaming up with Rocky, kind of that connection they have. Seeing Creed trying to go without that name because he wants to earn his way without the Creed name. But then when it eventually gets out, he kind of realizes, hey, like, it's who I am. I am a Creed. Like, I'm not going to milk this name, but I'm gonna fight the best if that's what his name will get me, and I'm gonna win and show them that I do deserve that name. And in the end, he almost completes that journey. Um, he does show it that he does deserve that name. He goes the distance with the heavyweight champion. The villain in this movie is the one thing where it could have been a bit better, and that's my one downside. And that's why I said the Creed 2 final fight was a bit better, and it did have the better villain in that movie. But no, he fights the heavyweight champion, Pretty Ricky Conlon, who is scheduled to go to prison after the fight. Basically, this was like his last chance. So I guess that was their way of kind of like removing a chance of him fighting Pretty Ricky Conlon again, and instead fighting Victor Drago in the next movie. But yeah, that was one thing I remember. Sylvester Stallone said that about Creed 2 when it was being written and everything. He said what Creed 2 needs is a real villain, because I feel like Pretty Ricky Conlon just kind of came in at the end. Like he wasn't in the movie throughout. Like he kind of just be shown in like highlight reels, like HBO boxing documentaries that were shown on TVs. Yeah, not really a central character to the plot besides in the press conferences and in the final fight. But yeah, so that's the one issue I have with the movie. Obviously, the movie's meant to be more about Adonis growing as a person and kind of becoming the Creed character. But at the same time, it's also a really emotional story of loss and what it can do to a person. Because in this movie, Rocky gets cancer, and basically he decides, hey, I don't want to fight this. Like, my wife's dead, my best friend's dead, like I may as well just like let it run its course and join them. But then Adonis convinces him, like, hey, if I'm going to be fighting like the heavyweight champ, you're going to be fighting your fight, and we're going to get through this together. And it's really beautiful to watch them doing fighting different battles, but the same battle at the same time, in a sense. You know, Adonis conquering his like inner doubt and all that, and Rocky having to fight this disease, but like Adonis is with him every step of the way. He's helping him out. He's by his bedside. It's really nice to watch. It really is. Really warms the heart. And obviously, in the end, Rocky lives. So cancer cannot beat Rocky Balboa. And with that, we have now come to number one. And if you can tell at this point, it's that movie right there, the OG Rocky. I want to say 1972, might be 71 or 70 though, somewhere within that 3-year range. But this movie right there, whenever I used to watch this growing up, I would like hang a sleeping bag from this like pole in my laundry room, and I'd start punching it and like pretending I was Rocky. It was pretty sad, actually, not gonna lie. But like I'd be like working on my job, be like, oh man, I'm gonna be like Rocky. Obviously, that is not the case because there is only one Rocky Balboa, and he is a fictional character. But no, Rocky, it's one of the greatest underdog stories of all time. Like a lot of future underdog stories have drawn aspects from Rocky, is what I'm trying to say. It has one of the coolest love stories we've seen in a sports movie too. We see this character going for the more silent and secluded uh, woman, someone who people think might have a mental disorder, but she just doesn't like talking to people and she's pretty awkward. But no, we see him go for Adrian, the pet shop worker, aka Polly's sister. By the way, Polly is horrible to her in this movie, and freaking tosses a turkey out the window. Excuse my language. Sorry about that. Now he tosses a turkey out the window that she made for Thanksgiving, so that she would have to go on a date with Rocky instead of cooking the turkey, which is very rude. But that's not an important part of the movie. I don't know why I'm ranting about that. What you got to know about Rocky is that it'll tug at your heartstrings. You feel warm watching it. You see this guy go from this poor, down and out old fighter who doesn't really have a shot at doing anything. Like he's literally working for the mob at the beginning of this movie, but then he gets the opportunity of a lifetime. He gets to fight the heavyweight champ, Apollo Creed. And we get to see their press conference. We see how humble Rocky is compared to the character of Apollo Creed, who is actually based on Muhammad Ali, who is I mean, if you're gonna base the heavyweight champ off anyone, it should probably be Muhammad Ali, the GOAT. And then we see him evolve throughout the story into this more developed fighter, someone who has people in his life. He has Adrian, and he finally has a purpose in life. He doesn't feel like a bum anymore. Like the town loves him, Philly loves him, they cheer his name. And then when it finally comes to the fight, it's a lot like Creed 1. The fight goes the distance. Rocky lands some big shots, and it's a split decision, but Creed wins in the end. But Rocky didn't need to win this fight. Just making it the distance, even getting in the ring with the heavyweight champion being Rocky, was a win in itself. So at the end of the movie, when he does lose and he hugs Adrian as Adrian rushes him in the ring, you can't help but feel happy for the guy. He went in there, he did his thing, he didn't win, but he didn't need to. And besides that, the score of this movie is incredible. You all know the dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that thing. They play this like sad piano version at parts of the movie, like whether it's a sad part or just like kind of to transition the scene, and that is great. And then also the main theme for the fights in the movie, they use this in every Rocky movie. It's called "Going the Distance," and I believe it's by Bill Conti. If you ever want to get hyped up before anything, just listen to "Going the Distance." It'll instantly hype you up. Sorry, one sec. I just need some water. But yeah, no, "Going the Distance," amazing song, instrumental there, expertly made. Need I say more? And just the fact that Sylvester Stallone wrote this book, there has been some, yeah. So as I said before, Rocky based on a book by Sylvester Stallone by the same name. There has been some speculation that Rocky did in fact steal, not Rocky, Sylvester Stallone did in fact kind of steal the story of Rocky, because I watched this ESPN documentary called The Real Rocky, and there was this fighter named Chuck Wepner. It was in the 1900s at some point. I don't know when the fight was. It's probably the 50s. I don't know when Muhammad Ali fought. But yeah, there's a boxer named Chuck Wepner. He's kind of a older fighter, not really much going on there, not super famous or anything. But he got like randomly selected to fight Muhammad Ali. So basically the Rocky story, like this guy trained, he did all this, and he does end up going the distance like Rocky. But the another part was of the fight was that Chuck Webner actually knocked down Muhammad Ali, and this was like, I believe that was the first time in Muhammad Ali's career that he had ever been knocked down. It was by this bum named Chuck Wepner. Like, that must have been embarrassing. But other people have said that Muhammad Ali actually just tripped and fell, but they counted it as a knockdown. But basically, Chuck Wepner ends up going the distance. I think it was a unanimous decision that he lost, whereas with Rocky, it's usually a split decision. But nonetheless, it is very similar. And there has Chuck Wepner has said that Sylvester Stallone has had talks with him where he said, like, yeah, it's based on you. But then Sylvester Stallone's told the media, like, yeah, no, I saw the fight, but like I just kind of drew some similarities there. Like I didn't steal the idea. So, inspiration can be found anywhere. I like to think that Sylvester Stallone didn't totally rip off this guy's story for profit, but he might have. But besides that, Rocky's a great movie. If you haven't seen it already, it's a must watch. It's one of my favorites. It was on my top 10 list. I believe it was number 4 or 5, and deservedly so. The whole series minus Rocky 5. I feel bad. I keep roasting Rocky 5. You know what? I'm gonna watch Rocky 5 again soon, and I'll update you guys on my opinions on it. They probably won't change. I still probably think it'll be pretty bad, but I'll give it another shot. Maybe Tommy Gunn will grow on me. But yeah, so that's gonna be my list, guys. So just to recap: number 8, we got Rocky 5. Number 7, we got Rocky 4. Number 6, we got Rocky 3. Number 5, we got Rocky Balboa. Number 4, we got Rocky 2. Number 3, we got Creed 2. Number 2, we got Creed 1. And at number 1, we have the OG Rocky. So yeah, that's gonna bring us to the end of this episode, guys. Once again, sorry about the voice. Yeah, I'm okay. It's all good. I was singing a little too loud. But yeah, you know how it is. Bad singers sing the loudest. So but yeah, that's gonna just about do it for this week's episode 16, guys. We're only 4 episodes away from episode 20. It's crazy. I can't believe it's been like I guess it's been 17 weeks because I did take a week off. So yeah, the past 17 weeks have been great. I love coming on here, just talking about film, getting to talk about all the stuff that people don't want to listen to me rant about. But yeah, no, just a reminder, follow me on Instagram at Film Time with Fava, also at Favalicious on Instagram, and then on Twitter at A_Fav24. That 24 is for Kobe, of course. Rest in peace. Gone too soon. But yeah, guys, I'm Anthony Fava. This has been Film Time with Fava. Go watch all the episodes. It'll help me a lot. Go watch all the episodes of Fired Up Network. They got a lot of variety, all sports, all entertainment, every day. Hundreds, if not thousands of shows over there. So yeah, big shout out to Fired Up Network. And yeah, they give me an opportunity to do this every week and share my stuff with you guys. So that's a pretty exciting thing to do. So to finish off, guys, I'll leave you with my usual words. I'm Anthony Fava, and this is as real as it gets. I'll see you guys next week.